what we've got happening today is we've got 4 really inspiring people from 4 great local nonprofits that all serve young people. They will share a little bit about what they do, what it's like to work for a nonprofit, and how to get started here in Oregon if that is a career path you are interested in. First, I'll just sort of kick off with what is a nonprofit. Basically, a nonprofit is an organization created with a central purpose other than generating profits. That doesn't mean you don't have to worry about money. I think probably all of us in nonprofits, you have to balance the budget just like any other organization, but you have a mission that tends to be about serving the community and having that very mission-driven focused. There's a really big sector here in Oregon, about 12% of jobs in the private sector with nonprofits. There's a lot of different types, charities, foundations, trade associations, educational institutions. The best perk I can say, because I work at a nonprofit, is that sense that when you go to work every day, hey, you get paid to make a difference in your community and to try to make things better. And that's pretty fun. So with that, I will turn things over to my esteemed friends and colleagues in the nonprofit sector. With us, we have Paul Tabron with Elevate Oregon, Tong Zhang with Oregon MASA, Kleppinger with Ronald McDonald House, has also volunteered with the PAW team, and Callie Forrest with the Renaissance Foundation. One thing all of these nonprofits have in common is serving young people. I will let them describe what they do and how they do it. So I will we'll start with Paul. Paul, just to get started and to put you on the spot, maybe you could just introduce yourself and your job and what that means exactly.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Tabron, Jr. I'm the program director here at Elevate Oregon. I've been in this role, about a month. Prior to that, I was a teacher mentor. So I had a caseload of students whom just graduated in 2021. But with my role now, I oversee the entire program, except for admin staff. So all the mentors in the schools, we're partnered with Park Rose District. So there's 4 mentor coaches within the elementary schools, 3 mentors within at the middle school, 4 mentors at the high school, and then a program manager at the high school, a program manager at the middle school, and I'm also the program manager for the elementary school. So you could imagine that I work a lot. I'm never really off, but this is the life I chose. It's exciting to be able to give back to students. For me, especially being a Black male in America and just thinking about making, systemic changes. I take pride in that. My work is actually very intertwined with my life. And what I mean by that is just being a person of integrity. A lot of people say practice what you preach, but I would rather preach what I'm practicing. And so with that being said, I just make sure that, I respect everyone. I'm being a good person, taking care of my family, whom I love. I have a daughter who is coming up on 12 weeks. I have a son who is 3. And then my partner, she's absolutely great.
Thank you, Paul. We will turn it to Tong at Oregon Mesa. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. My name is Tong Zhang. I'm the executive director of Oregon Mesa. And what that means is that I oversee the program. I have a team of about 10 staff members, but a lot of them are also young professionals who are newer staff members. And we have folks who've been with us for a really long time who are full-time staff. But yeah, make sure that we pay the bills, make sure that the program runs and that we're doing right by the students that we serve and the teachers that we work with.
Thank you, Tong. And now we have Kara Kleppinger with Ronald McDonald House. Why don't you share about your role there?
Hi, I'm Kara Kleppinger. I am the Director of Meal and Enrichment Programming at Ronald McDonald House Charities. So Basically, I oversee our volunteer program, our meal program that feeds our families every night, as well as our enrichment programming, which is family activities, events, craft nights. And then I oversee 4 staff members that help carry out that amazing work as well. Basically, Ronald McDonald House Charities, you might have heard about Ronald McDonald House. It's a global organization, but each chapter operates independently and serves their specific chapter, and all the money we raise in our community stays in our community. So Ronald McDonald House in Oregon, we have 4 houses across Oregon, and we provide a place for families to stay when they have to travel to receive life-saving medical care for their seriously ill or injured children. And so all families staying with us have a child up at the hospital. We have 2 houses in Portland. One is our East House in North Portland. One is our South Waterfront House, where I am currently, over by OHSU. And 50% of our families are below the federal poverty line. And so we have a ton of families from different areas that are coming into Portland, again, to receive medical care.
Great, thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Callie with the Renaissance Foundation. Welcome, Callie.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everyone. My name is Callie. I'm the scholarship program manager at the Renaissance Foundation. So the Renaissance Foundation is a foundation, which the short explanation for that is just kind of an organized way for people who have money to give into the community to do so. So often organizations will write in kind of applications for the money, and then the foundation decides who to distribute their money to. The biggest arm that we have is our scholarship program. So that's where the majority of the money in the foundation goes. So our scholarships are college scholarships for first generation low income students in Oregon and then also in Illinois. So last year, we gave out 360 scholarships to first-gen students going to college, which was really exciting. That was the biggest year yet. And we have about 800 current students that we're funding right now. So as the scholarship program manager, excuse me, what I do is kind of all the day-to-day of the scholarship management. We have a really small team of 3. So we all kind of do a little bit of everything, which is a sentiment that I'm sure you'll hear from all the other nonprofit folks too. But we're updating the application every year to make sure, that it's up to date, talking to our partners to make sure that students are understanding the application and making sure it's the best it can be.
Great, thank you, Callie. I think just to continue on, as some of you have touched on the mission of your organization a little bit, but I wonder if each of you, maybe starting again with Paul, could share like what's the mission of the organization you work for, and what is it about that mission that really resonates with you personally and professionally?
So to sum it up, the mission of Elevate is to equip our students with the intangible tools to be successful, not just in school, but once they enter into the world. And why it resonates with me so much, just thinking about how important it is to have the intangibles to be successful. I think a lot of times, traditionally, there's this like cookie cutter formula for success, or success is just one thing, and that's just having a bunch of money. But for me, having those intangible tools to be able to somewhat be a Renaissance person, if you will. What I mean by that is just being able to move in different fields, different avenues, and no matter what you want to go into, if you have those intangible tools, you will be successful. So whether it be trade school, whether it be college, when you enter into, the career sector, whether you're in nonprofits, whether you are, an engineer or whatever it is, as long as you have those intangible tools to have good character, you'll be successful in anything that you do.
Thank you, Paul. And how about you, Tong?
Yeah, the mission of MASA, if I were to sum it up quickly, it's just to advance equity in the STEM fields. And what we mean that is the organization has been around as a general model for almost 50 years. And during that time, unfortunately, the STEM fields in terms of the racial and gender makeup of STEM fields is still very undiverse. And our goal is to support middle and high school students who previously maybe didn't think that those fields were right for them to enter them. And we do that through professional development with teachers, and then they recruit underrepresented students into the program, and we do invention education with them. So they design products all the way from identifying a problem in the community to creating a physical product. So we're heavily on the engineering side. And the reason that mission is really resonant with me is I used to be a scientist, like I mentioned, and it was, I've got to be honest, really, really rough for a lot of different reasons. And I also did have the benefit of having a pretty good support system. And so for students who may not have had family members who were in STEM or role models who are in STEM, it's just a really hard path ahead. And I think that we would just all benefit, like as a society, by having more students of color, more young women engage in STEM, because then we can have products, we have innovation that are actually reflective of the people who live here. So I think it's a really important mission that I am really passionate about.
Oh, thank you for that. Okay, Kara, you're up.
Yeah, so I touched a little bit about the mission of Ronald McDonald House Charities, but as I mentioned, our houses were founded on the notion that, nothing else should matter or have to matter. You shouldn't have to worry about anything else when you are taking care of a chronically ill or injured child. And so, like I said, we provide a place for families to stay for free when they have to travel at least 30 miles to come into Portland, or we have a house down in Bend and Springfield as well to receive, in a lot of cases, life-saving medical care for their child. And so we try to create our houses and our programming to make sure that families are still able to just be together and focus on each other. And the sad reality is that when a child gets sick, that just kind of severs you from all other aspects of your life, and you have to, put everything off to the side to focus on the care for your child. And so we try to create a really comforting space for families, no matter where they're coming from, what place they're at in life, to just be able to stay close and not have to worry about the charge of housing in Portland. And I believe the longest night stay we've had in Oregon was 400 plus nights that a family had to stay with us. And so we try to make sure that meals are covered. Like I mentioned, a lot of our families are receiving incomes below the federal poverty line, on top of having to worry about medical costs and travel. And so we try to always make sure to have the basics covered. So make sure that we have meals provided for our families every night, and that they can actually create positive memories while they're here as well. So having enrichment activities, celebrating the holidays. And so it resonates with me because my partner has a chronic illness, and we're local to Portland. So whenever he needs to go in for treatment, we're right here. But if we had to travel far to get what he needed to support his condition, then I wouldn't be able to, possibly have a career or work, or, be able to take care of our pets and our family. And so it just really reminds me too of what some of our families are going through. So that's why I'm really passionate about it on a personal and professional level. Since I've been working here for about 3 years, every day you see families from so many different stories. We actually just had a mom give birth in our lobby the other day. And so families they have a lot of different experiences here, and it just really becomes a home away from home. And that's definitely our tagline, but it really is that for them. So, yeah.
That sounds really special to be able to have that big of an impact on individual families. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Callie.
So the mission of the Renaissance Scholars Program, which is the scholarship program under the Renaissance Foundation, is to provide financial support for high achieving low income students who are the very first in their family to pursue a bachelor's degree. So right after college, I worked for an organization called College Possible, which really kind of got me started in supporting students. So College Possible, if you're not familiar, is a little bit like AVID. So it's sort of like college prep, but it happens at your high school. And so I really loved that, loved working with high school students. And the mission of our organization resonates for me personally. I grew up in sort of a rural area in Northern California, and it was a low income community. And my parents went to college, and almost all of my friends' parents didn't. And so I didn't realize in high school how much easier my college journey, my journey to and through college was than for most of my friends who didn't have the same opportunity. And so when I went to college and learned more about myself and all the opportunities that I had had, I was really motivated to get involved in helping students pursue college if that's something that they wanted to do and just didn't really know where to start. So I like working in the scholarship field now. I'm a little bit more behind the scenes, so I work less with students directly, which is why I like to volunteer with them. But I like working behind the scenes, getting to kind of like build the systems that make it all happen. And I thought maybe I would want to be a teacher, but being up in front of a classroom all day, every day was not really my jam. But I still love being able to serve students kind of again from behind the scenes.
Great, thank you, Callie. Students here might be wondering, like, what are some of the skills to work at a nonprofit? What any kind of skills, and you don't have to answer in any particular order. You can just jump right in.
Well, before I answer Tong, I was in MASA in middle school.
Really?
So,
That's incredible. I had no idea.
Yeah. So, but I say, be a people person. Me, I'm from the East Coast originally, so I'm somewhat of a straight shooter. Just don't be mean. You can't be in this work and be mean. If you do not, if you don't rock with people, don't do this. I definitely say, just being a people person is definitely one thing working within nonprofits, because you have to communicate and interact with people all of the time. And if you don't like being around people, I highly suggest, nonprofits, don't work in nonprofits. So.
Very good point. What else?
I would say flexibility and adaptability. Last year, if they taught us anything, it's that changes, you just need to be able to roll with the changes and go with the flow. And with nonprofits, I feel like, at least in my experience, always trying to figure out the best structure, the best way to do things. And so a lot changes. And so just, flexibility, adaptability.
I think another skill is that's sometimes underappreciated is actually some administrative skills. So data and grant writing and administration. So if that is an area that you think you're interested in, that sometimes doesn't get talked a lot about, but for nonprofits, and I'm sure Susan knows about, there's so much of that is actually involved in the sort of the business end of things that I don't think that people who may be interested in that might realize that nonprofits actually have a lot of need in that area. So it's a really great place to, I don't know, if you really like organization, it's a good place to implement those organizational skills.
And the most important lesson that you've learned along the way? Ooh, that's a big one.
I've learned so many things. I feel like I know that especially in science and technology fields, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome. I feel imposter syndrome all the time in my role, where I don't honestly know how I got here. So I will be really honest there. So I've learned a lot, but I think the most important lesson that I've learned, and I did learn it really, really quickly, but I have to, it's just the value of people. And I don't mean to say as obviously people are valuable, but just the different stories that people have and come to that I get to interact with come from all walks of life. Like I interact with students, I interact with parents, I interact with, people who work at foundations, I work with people who are in government. Like there are so many personal stories that and personal insights that if I take the time to cultivate those relationships, if not the organization, I have always benefited from those conversations and those insights, because there's just so many different I think in the nature of my role, and there's a lot of sort of external relations in engagement and recruitment roles in nonprofits. In those roles, you get to meet so many different kinds of people. And I think that just, not ever going in with think it's like, oh, this person who is like X, like a student, I am there to serve them. That's not true. Like, yes, yeah, we have a program that they can benefit from, but I can really gain so much knowledge from them as well. And I can really gain the way that they pursue their lives. They're in a different generation than me. They could be really useful, even for my own program. Like, they might know how to recruit students much better than I do. Like, there's just so many different ways to be able to value the perspectives of other people that is by far the most important. Like, I can go in with that for most things that I do really come out better for it.
That's such a great, great perspective, Tong. With that, I wonder, would each of you just kind of share if high school students are here today, they're really interested in the sector, wanting to make a difference. What are a couple of things that someone in high school could do this year that might help them learn more about the career, gain some skills, see if it's the right fit for them?
Volunteer. I know it's not an option for everybody, I know, and from being in high school and having to work, I know that finding time can be really challenging, but if you are interested in it, the best way to get experience and to figure out what type of organization you'd want to be within the nonprofit sector, volunteer when you can, and just, talk to people in the sector and just kind of see what it's like on a day-to-day basis. That would be my best advice, is just volunteer with different types of organizations. And yeah.
Other thoughts there?
I'd say just, go to school sounds so cliche, but build good habits. Everybody's not going to be, just the stellar student, but, just show up and putting your best foot forward, just building those intangible skills, I think is important because, sometimes, hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. So one person may have all the talent in the world, but if you're working hard, things will happen. And I know it sounds like an after school special and so cliche. If you believe, then you will. And like, yeah, I know, I get it, but it's really true. I used to think like, man, this is corny. But as, I've progressed in my professional career, I'm very competitive with myself. And what I mean by that is I want to outwork everyone and my former self just to be able to, one, help more people, but two, everybody wants to progress professionally. So just build those good habits of just, doing the work every day and then having some patience. You are not going to come into this work and, be a program manager right off the cuff. You got to work. I know it's a microwave society, but yeah, in this work, you have to work. It won't work for you if you don't like to work.
That's great advice, Paul. For those of you, and we just have a couple more minutes, any other last bits of advice for high school students thinking about this awesome career path?
Just add on to the volunteering bit, definitely agree with that, and been working hard towards it. I think one part of the insider tip I would give is, I actually, to be honest, that's how I got my first nonprofit job. Was I was a volunteer for an organization first, and then I ended up having it turn into my job. And one of the things that I found be really effective is being willing to ask, like, oh, is there any sort of sort of terminology, like back office support you need? Is there any sort of things that you need on the administrative side, some data stuff? The reason I say that is that oftentimes that's not the first thing you think of in nonprofits. You think of okay, there's the ones working directly with students or directly working with clients. But that kind of gives you an insight about more the business side of things, like how do nonprofits work? And I think that that's really useful skill to get. And I've worked with some amazing high school students who helped us develop curriculum, who helped us actually do data analysis. And I think that they took a different insights to the nonprofit world as opposed to if they were on the direct service side only, like if they were just working with our students and clients. So that might just be a tip for people. If you are interested in looking for volunteering, ask for more like kind of behind the scenes things do nonprofits need help with.
You know, we are at the end of our time here, so we are going to wrap up, but I just wanted to say, you know, thank you so much to our volunteers for taking time out of your busy morning to connect with students. With that, again, thank you so much. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks all.